name off all the members that are in attendance. Obviously me, Doug, we have Ron, we have Virginia, we have Charlene, and we have Lorraine. So that part's done. Okay, so if everybody can read the minutes that we had from last week, that'd be great.
Last week, I don't remember.
You'll be all right.
Very much, huh?
It's December and January.
Was March 9th, was it, last week? March
Yeah,
9th?
but we didn't
Yeah.
make.
No.
So that's
of the meeting.
tonight.
You guys all know what I meant. The minutes you have in hand.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 15th.
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous for the record. Okay. We're gonna take the agenda a little out of order.
do you want to do the other?
So there's another set of minutes.
Oh, there is?
Yep. January 9th.
January 12th, you mean?
Yeah, you better.
Oh, that was the meeting date. Okay.
Was it January 12th?
Yeah, that was actually the meeting date. Thought this table will be big enough. Apparently not.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of Tuesday, January 12th. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's unanimous? Okay, so now we can move on, correct?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we're gonna take the agenda a little bit out of order. The Shingle Mill project will be on last, even though it's first on the agenda. So we have Dyer Street. I believe this is just an update. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Brad McKenzie, McKenzie Engineering Group, representing Gaspar Investment Incorporated. We have had one meeting with the planning board, and we have a review letter that we're in the process of addressing by Amory Engineers for the planning board. And as you're aware, we have two review letters, one for each NOI submission from Beta. And we're in the process of resubmitting the project and drainage calculations to the commission of the planning board. And we're aware that Henry will be performing a stormwater review. So really all we want to do tonight is, I think, give an initial presentation. I'm not sure we've done that yet. We've had several continuations. But I'm gonna introduce Eric Schumacher from McKenzie to briefly go through the plans, introduce the project, and we understand that it will be continued.
Okay.
For the
Question for the secretary. Have we opened this hearing yet? Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. I do not believe we have opened this hearing.
Okay. So,
I believe you have, but just continued it.
I mean, a continued hearing.
okay. Okay, so you have the floor. Thank you.
Great, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Shoemaker from McKenzie Engineering, representing Gaspar Investments. Do you mind if I screen share the plans?
Please do.
All right, thank you.
Whatever you can do to help us would be great.
All right, how's that look? Hold on.
It's a
So,
little small, but what are you gonna do?
yeah, I can zoom in if needed. So the site is located off Dyer Street at 4 existing parcels, comprising Assessor's Map 34, lots 83, 84, 87, 88, 89, and 90. So these 4 lots and a portion of Dyer Street right-of-way. The site is currently comprised of undeveloped woodlands, and developed residential properties are located directly to the north as well as the west. There's a bordering vegetated wetland complex located to the east and to the south, with some commercial properties located through the woods to the east. So lots 3483 and 3490, the western lots are located within the residential R2 zoning district. The 2 remaining lots on the east are located in the business B1 zoning district. So the site totals 1.83 acres and generally slopes from a high point at elevation 150, located adjacent to the right-of-way, down to the wetlands located at about 138. So the limit of bordering vegetated wetlands were delineated by Environmental Consulting and Restoration, LLC, on September 4th, 2019, and were approved by an order of resource area delineation from this Conservation Commission on January 14th, 2020. So moving on to the site plans. So the proposed development will consist of 2 duplexes located in that residential zoning district R2, as well as 2 multifamily buildings located in the business B1 zoning district. It will also include bituminous concrete parking areas, stormwater management systems, detention basins, one located to the north and one located on the southern portion to service the property. So something to note, we filed 2 NOIs with the Conservation Commission. The notice of intent for lots 34, 84, 87, 88, 89, 90, and a portion of the right-of-way were filed for the multifamily buildings, associated parking areas, and the stormwater basins located within the 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands. And you can see that buffer right here, 100-foot wetland buffer.
Okay.
The remaining notice of intent was filed for just lot 3483 and the portion of the duplex located in the buffer right here. So moving on to the grading and drainage plan. So there are presently no stormwater controls on the site, and our goal when designing this drainage system was to bring the site into compliance with the drainage system that complies with all local and state stormwater management regulations, as well as attenuates the peak rates of runoff in the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms. So we analyzed a watershed area of about 2 acres consisting of the subject parcels to be developed, and came out with 5 design points. So we captured all runoff from this proposed development from impervious areas of the site, such as the building and roadway, and runoff gets captured by catch basins placed throughout the site. It then gets conveyed to the first defense units, where it gets its total suspended solids removal, as well as treated for water quality, and then it's conveyed to the detention basins. From there, the detention basins lets out the stormwater at a controlled rate to the wetlands, and it's worth noting that we're reducing the peak rates of runoff at all design points on this site. So the stormwater detention basins were designed to accommodate the peak rates for the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms mentioned earlier. The utility design, just real quick, includes underground electric, telephone, and cable conduits, as well as sewer main, water main, and gas main. So as Brad mentioned earlier, we met with the planning board on February 23rd, and we're responding to some revisions from them, as well as the beta group review letters. A couple of those revisions to note are widening the roadway to 24 feet in width, all the way from the intersection at South Douglas. We also moved these duplexes closer to the street. They're now located about 40 feet from the street. So this is actually moved out of the buffer zone at the moment. Another change worth noting is we redesigned these spillways so they're located outside of the 25-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. So there'll be no disturbance to that area. So that's a quick presentation. I'll be here with Brad to answer any questions that anyone has. Thank you.
Okay. Marty, do you have notes on this project?
We did provide peer review of the both notices of intent on this site. I think the larger items of note the commission should take to consider is there's a couple spots where the work actually encroaches into your 25-foot no disturb. So either they need to be pulled back or the project will need a waiver of that 25-foot no disturb requirement. It's mainly the discharges from the stormwater basin to the south and to the north. The notice of intent for the duplex, part of the southern basin is actually on that lot. So there is jurisdictional work on that particular lot. So that would need to be included in the NOI. And the other comment that we had was the duplex to the north of Dyer Street contains part of the stormwater basin that discharges to the wetland to the east. So that, since it does discharge to an area subject to protection, then the commission has jurisdiction over that part of the basin. So that lot needs to be incorporated into a notice of intent, either the multi-complex NOI or have its own NOI. So I think administratively, I think they'll probably work it out for their next, for their response to the commission. You know, and at that time we can take a look at it. So, but I know that there was some soil evaluations done out there that may require some modifications to the stormwater system, but Henry's in the meeting, so he can speak to that.
Okay. Yeah, I actually talked to Henry about that, so, do you want to take a second, Henry, and comment on the test pits that were done out there? Henry,
I guess that's no.
he's there, he's just probably on mute.
I witnessed, I believe it was 5 test holes, maybe it was 6. 3 in the south, 3 in the north, I believe. And the soil evaluation that I observed was different than what was originally submitted, requiring that they raise, I believe, are gonna be required to raise the bottom of each one of those basins. The exact amount, I think it was maybe close to a foot on the south and maybe up to 6 to 8, 10 inches or so on the north. But that's, I haven't seen surface elevations. I haven't seen actually the new test holes prepared with actual elevations of the groundwater that we observed that day. So
Okay.
as they noted, they're gonna be submitting new plans and new calculations, and I can take another look at that point and get into some more detail on some of the aspects of the drainage systems themselves.
Okay, the soils that you observed were different from the soils in the original.
Yes, they were, especially in the south. The soils were of poor quality as far as draining than what was originally noted. I think they went from loamy sands to sandy loams. I think in the northern area, we saw a combination of both loamy sand and sandy loam versus the original submittal had loamy sand throughout the site. So that really won't, they're not really providing a lot of recharge. They're using extended detention in combination with some proprietary BMPs for water quality. And so the type of soil may not affect the elevations of the basins, but it may affect their size because the original calculations were done on that soil type that had better draining qualities.
Okay. Okay, so does the board have any questions? I'll start with Ron.
No,
Virginia?
He said that things were moved originally so that they were out of the 25-foot zone. Is there another one, Marty?
Yes,
So there's another one. Okay, thank you.
yes. Which we can come back to that, but yes. Lorraine, Charlene, you guys have
Charlene
any?
here. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
Oh, good. He mentioned something about widening the road. How is he going to get permission to do that?
Well, I'm assuming that's through the planning board
Okay,
process. They need a minimum of 24 feet in Rockland for a road.
Yes, the DPW and fire department is requesting that it be a minimum of 24 feet.
all right. Because you're involving some of the road that's already there, so I was just saying how you're gonna be taking frontage from the other people, the residents that are already in that neighborhood.
We wouldn't be taking frontage, and the plan that is before you currently doesn't involve a widening of the existing portion of Dyer Street. But again, what DPW and fire is requesting of us is that we widen Dyer Street to make it a uniform 24-foot width from the intersection at South Douglas to the
That's
end of
right.
the road. So it wouldn't affect anybody's frontage. It's a 50-foot wide right of way.
Right.
Presently,
So-
the road's only 18 feet wide.
All right,
Exactly. In Rockland, you need a minimum of 40 feet. So, and they have 50 feet, so they have room to widen the road.
okay.
Lorraine, any questions?
I are these plans in the process of being revised to answer all of the comments that came from Marta and Henry?
Yes, as well
Okay,
as the planning board comments.
okay, well, I'll reserve any comments until I see the final plans, because I'd like to see more of the 25-foot buffer zone enforced.
So, kind of piggybacking on that a little bit, Lorraine, the 25-foot no disturb zone is not going to be waived by the Conservation Commission. I mean, we'll obviously do that in the vote, but, so if there's impacts there, that needs to be addressed.
Okay,
The other question I have, I guess it's not completely conservation related, but I believe at the end of the day, it might be, is wouldn't this road require a cul-de-sac? And would that require everything to be set back further?
We met with the fire department and had a few telephone conversations with them, and we're providing Eric, maybe you could point out, there's a emergency turnaround easement that we're
Yep.
provided, that they're
Right in this area.
provided.
On the revised plans, it's shown a little better because we actually widen these driveways as well as the roadway to 24 feet. But I've been working with the fire department, and we actually have some turning layouts that show the Rockland aerial truck using this as a T turnaround area. So we're working with them to get that.
Okay, I mean, I was just under the assumption that hammerheads in Rockland were no longer allowed to be built, that they had to be 3/4 acre cul-de-sacs. I know that's probably a planning and zoning issue, but I believe it'll probably affect the overall plan at the end of the day. So that's the reason I'm asking that. I don't believe hammerheads are allowed anymore in Rockland. Do you have anything
Well,
you have anything to say about that?
Perhaps they're looking at this from a different lens, in that it's Dyer Street is an existing layout with that just basically terminates, well, actually terminated at the wetland, and we shortened the right of way somewhat to facilitate the development of both of these lots. So it's not a new subdivision. It's an existing paper street.
Well, I mean, again, I'll just let planning and zoning handle that, but I mean, I really wouldn't agree with that statement. Right now, there's what, one house on Dyer Street or two? I think it's two.
There's
maybe.
two.
So that's how the street was designed, was for two houses. Now all of a sudden we're putting, I don't know, 6 or 7 or whatever the heck we're doing here. But that's for zoning and planning to figure out. But I just wanted to bring that up because if they enforce that, that's going to change this plan significantly. And then we might be talking more about 25-foot buffer zone, et cetera. So figured I'd bring that up, just a food for thought for you guys.
Appreciate that. With respect to the 25-foot buffer, the revised plan set will respect that.
That's
As
great.
Henry indicated, the basins have been raised slightly. The grading for the sites have changed. As a result, the outlets that encroach slightly into the 25-foot buffer have also been raised, so we can pull them back outside the buffer.
Great. That's a big concern of the Conservation Commission, so thank you for that. So I'll take a couple questions from the audience if they have any questions, and otherwise we will continue this to our next hearing, which is April 13th. So does anybody in the audience have any questions? I'm not even sure if I can take questions, but if I can, feel free. Just
Hey,
name and
Doug.
address, please. Name and address, please.
Wait a minute, Doug, let me direct this so that everyone's not talking at once. So Diane and Sean have their hand raised, so you guys can go first.
Okay, go ahead. Diane, Sean? This is honestly why I hate these meetings.
All right, let's go back to them.
We'll keep you in the queue.
Bill's
Go ahead.
iPad.
Okay, I think people are unable to raise their hand.
I can see their hands raised.
Okay, can you guys
Where
hear me
do you
now?
raise-
Who's this? Is this Diane and John?
Yes, it is.
Yep, go
Perfect.
ahead.
Thank you.
Okay. So what guarantees are we going to have that this is not going to exacerbate the flood situation that we already experienced? Like, who's going to be liable for that? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Bill's iPad.
Marty, can you jump in on that?
I think that's more of a Henry, or maybe even Brad.
Sorry, Marty.
Enzi. It's okay.
Sorry. I just
That's
always
okay.
just jump to you.
I know,
first, you
I know,
that.
I know.
You're my favorite.
I
Anyway,
know.
Henry, if you could offer a couple comments on that. and I can
Could you
kinda-
repeat the question on that, please?
What guarantees are we going to have that this is not going to exacerbate the current flood situation?
The flood situation.
There's
Well,
many
there's a
houses
couple,
in
there's a couple
neighborhoods
things that they
experience floods
do
even on
when
the
they
Mile
submit
Range
this.
one.
Who's talking? Henry? Go ahead. I'm sure you won't be interrupted again.
When the stormwater calculations are done, they're required to make sure that the peak rate of runoff does not increase. As far as the volume, that's something that the commission could look at if they feel that if there's a volumetric increase, that it could have an impact in the elevation, the surface elevation within the wetlands. And up to the top of my head, I don't recall without having the calculation in front of me, whether there was a volume issue here or not. But that's something that I'll take a look at when I get the revised plans and calculations.
I think basically what the resident is asking, Henry, is about their own property, not so much the wetlands. Sure, they might have basement flooding issues, et cetera. I'm sure that's the road that we're going down here. I can tell you the Conservation Commission is not going to offer any guarantees as far as that's concerned. But in our review, all the stormwater calculations are taken into consideration, and the runoff from this site cannot increase to what it is currently. That's kind of the canned statement.
So more or less, it's just going to be a hope and pray that it doesn't get worse, but we can't guarantee it's going to disrupt the neighborhood. Is that what?
Well, I certainly don't want to give you a hope and pray, that's for sure. But unfortunately, it's all based on calculations on computers. And that's the reason we have a review consultant look it over, as in Henry Nova. And when we get the revised plans, he will go back through the plans again and check them to make sure that the runoff is not increased from what it is currently. Beyond that, there are no guarantees.
Can I talk?
Hold on one second. Diane and Sean, I need an address, please.
59.
Where are
Can you
they?
hear me now?
Yes,
59 what?
yep,
Okay, 59 South Douglas.
Okay.
okay, thank you.
And I have another follow-up question too.
Go ahead.
Is this going to open up the South Douglas Daring Square rocks? So it's a drive-through now? Because right now, South Douglas is a dead end. So is that going to change to a drive-through situation?
So that's not something that's really the purview of the Conservation Commission,
Okay.
but that's not being presented here. I can tell you that.
Who would we go to express concern about that? Or who could we email?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
The answer is no. This project does not involve any modification of South Douglas Street.
I see it. All right.
Okay, you heard it here first. Do you have any other questions, sir?
Yes, I have one.
Hold on one second.
Hold on, one at a time.
I'm done for now, but thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. All right, go right ahead with your name and your address, please.
No, hold on, Doug. Let me just direct this because it's gonna get crazy.
Okay.
Bill's iPad is who I called next.
Okay. Bill?
Hey, Bill Esmo, 522 Union Street.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, guys, how's everyone? So my biggest concern is I already have water issues on my property. I've lived there a long time. The only thing I see from this is my water issues getting worse. So I just want to guarantee my water issues aren't going to get worse because I'm already losing some of my property to wetlands.
Well, Bill, it's the same, I hate to say it, but it's the same canned answer as the last, let's call it the last caller. We have engineers reviewing this, and according to the site calculations, there will be no additional runoff from what is currently. But again, you're not gonna get a guarantee because, there's really just no guarantees as far as this goes. That's the reason we hire professionals to review their review, basically. So in other words, there's the review of the project, and then the town hires a professional engineer to review that to make sure it's within the guidelines.
Okay.
So I don't know if that make you feel better, but that's.
No, not really.
Well,
Well, one more question regarding my property line. Is it any of my property getting taken?
is any of you what?
My property getting taken back there?
No, none of your property is getting taken unless there's something weird going on here that I don't know about.
Okay, well, I'd like it surveyed to make sure nothing touches my property on him. I'm not on me.
I believe the applicant has already surveyed the property, otherwise they wouldn't have this application in front of us.
We have surveyed the property. That's shown as the property lines on the plan, and we are not taking any abutters property.
Okay, we'll just stick to it. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
I'm done.
What's that again?
He saves time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Yeah, hold on one second.
At least somebody knows what they're doing. As far as Zoom, excuse me.
Two duplexes and two
Um,
single homes.
Killigan, SP, the name's not really clear on.
It's Kilgallen, Brian
All right.
Kilgallen. That's fine. Brian Kilgallen, 32 Rice Ave. My question is in regards to, we're talking about getting the water from the property and keeping it the same. Actually, at this point, I think we should probably be looking at it as reducing the outflow, because the flow from the stream coming under Union Street has caused failures on the storm drains coming into the property, and coming through the property. We've also had storm drain failures on South Douglas Street, which the highway department has corrected and fixed, but have been coming back because of the erosion from this. And the other concern I have from this is that this stream also runs very close to the water towers, and if the erosion continues there, that could be a catastrophe. So I think we should be looking at reducing the water flow.
Henry, you have a comment on that?
Hey, can you loan me $50? Can you transfer it to me using this app?
Basically, their requirements under the
Oh,
law.
here I am.
Henry?
The stormwater management standards, which are part of the wetland regulations, require that they can't increase the runoff from the site.
But they
If there's
do
existing
not have to
problem-
decrease it.
If there are existing problems associated with that wetland and the stream, then, they're correct to go to the highway department to try to get that corrected. If there's any of those issues that occur within this particular project's site, the project applicant could probably help with that. But they're not doing any work in the wetlands, and they're not affecting any of the existing drainage, as far as I can see. They're not making any improvements to any existing pipes or culverts, either coming underneath Union Street or even downstream. If there's a situation down gradient, which would be to the south, that's an issue, then they have to make sure they won't exacerbate that. And that's where the volume becomes important. And like I said, I'll take a look at that when I get the revised calculations.
Okay, that
Okay.
works for us.
Yep. The only other issue I had on that is the fact of the end of Dyer Street will now be within 10 feet of the stream. And when you plow, you'll be plowing directly into the stream. That's the only other issue that I have. But just food for thought. Thanks.
So the stream's within 10 feet of the end of the road?
I don't believe that's the case. No.
It's not true.
According to the Mass GIS site of lot plot plans, now that's what I was looking at. That's what I'm basing it on. It looks like it's within 5 to 10 feet of the stream. Can you tell us how close you have it, your end within the stream?
The stream is located down here beyond the wetland flags. Just for reference, this is 77-foot property line. So I'd say we're about 80 to 90 feet away.
Okay, I'll get the GIS site and forward that if anyone wants it. Thanks.
Okay. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, hold on.
How much for an update?
Grass family iPad.
Yes, how do I submit a plot plan of my property? Because your plot plan is not the same as mine. I'd like to submit the plot plan that I had done to my property about 5 years ago when I did my addition. You've got my shed over my property line and the property line is wrong on your drawings. How do I submit mine? I'm at 40 South Douglas.
I'm assuming the applicant had a professional engineer.
I paid $800 to have my plot plan done when I did my addition.
Hold on 1 second.
I didn't do it myself.
I'm assuming the applicant had a professional engineer.
We had a professional, the survey, the property line survey for Dyer Street, which includes your common lot line, as well as the frontage on South Douglas, was all surveyed under the supervision of a registered professional land surveyor. We feel very confident with the property line as it's shown on this plan.
Okay, so how do I submit mine that was done by a person who's done several properties in Rockland?
I would ask your surveyor to stake out your property line and then we can review it and compare it to what we have.
Okay, how do I submit that?
Well, it's something that they would do in the field. Actually come out and put stakes at the corners and then we could check it against our survey.
Okay, we're kind of getting off topic. Property lines are not conservation matters.
Okay, and my other question was, you're raising the land back there to build these things on there? How much fill you planning on bringing in? I mean, how high are you going to raise the land back there? Because that means the water's going to go somewhere. And I'm guessing none of these condos have basements?
So the end of the proposed development, about 145. You have 147 contour here, 146. So it's a pretty balanced site within the right of way.
So you're raising the ground back there.
It's both cut and fill. It depends on where you're looking.
Okay, then I'm at 40 South Douglas. So Dyer Street is not going to become off-street parking for these condos that you're building.
That's not a conservation issue, sir. I'm sorry.
Yep, I hear you.
So again, we have an engineer for the town side reviewing the drainage calculations to try to ensure that no more water comes off the site than currently.
And you can't guarantee I'm not getting more water in my basement.
The only thing I can tell you is 2 professional engineers put their designs together and they come up with a reason that says, no, it's not.
Well, we haven't had much water in the last 2 or 3 years. So you surveyed the land this past year. It hasn't been that wet back there. I'm not sure how far you dig down, but we haven't had major rain in a long time. It's the heavy winters that we have a shitload of snow. And then we have a very wet Aprils where we're all concerned about water. And we haven't had one of those in a couple of years. You know, I have a sump pump. It hasn't run that much in the last year or two because we haven't had a lot of rain. But when we had that really brutal winter where we had 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of snow, then we have those April showers. That's what we're all concerned about, is where does that water go when we have a large amount of snow? And now you're going to have snow banks, and then you're going to have a ton of rain that's going to wash all that snow away. And you're not, and so if I get water in my basement, it's like, oh, well, sorry. And then I'm out because my basement's finished because my pump keeps up. I come home from work someday and I got 5 feet of water in my basement. I'm not going to be a happy guy. And that's going to hurt my property value. It's not going to hurt any of the condos' property value, is it? It's going to hurt my property value. So I'm totally against this project. And I hope you guys understand, water doesn't go away. It has to go somewhere. And that somewhere is not going to be my basement, I hope, or none of our basements. This project should not go through. I don't know why you got to build 16. I don't know why the street can't come off of Union Street and not Dyer Street. That water is going to go somewhere, and it's going to go into my basement and all my neighbors' surrounding basements. You haven't had major winters lately, so there's not a water issue right now. It's when we have that heavy, heavy winter, and then we have the April showers. That's what we're all concerned about.
Okay,
Can I just respond to that briefly?
you may.
Eric, maybe you can show on your plan, your screen share, where the high point of Dyer Street is proposed to be. Almost all of the new development, actually all of the new development is going to be directed away from your house, back into the detention basins, which will discharge into the wetlands, so away from your property.
And that stream back there, who maintains it? Is that stream going to be like redug that's back there now?
It won't have to be, because as Henry had mentioned, we're required to comply with the DEP stormwater management regulations, which requires that what these basins, these stormwater basins discharge, the peak rates have to be less than the present condition. So whatever enters the wetland in that stream, that intermittent stream within the bordering vegetated wetland, has to be less than the present condition.
Okay, so 5 years from now, who maintains that stream? Because I've been maintaining that stream for the last 20 years. I go out there every year and I make sure if there's any major branches that come down there, I try to get them out of there. A couple of years ago, somebody threw tires in there. I got those out of there. Who's going to maintain that stream? Is that going to be the condo associations? Because if there's condos out there, I'm not going to be able to go back there and maintain the stream like I have been. I go out there all the time to make sure that there's nothing that's damming that thing up.
I can't speak to, the stream is on private property for the most part.
I understand that, but I check it all the time because I don't want water to go the wrong place. So if there's going to be condos there, somebody should maintain that if something does get into that stream.
Okay, where are we at? Okay, so I had to step out for a minute. Where are we at on this conversation, please?
The person that's speaking right now, I didn't get your first name on South Douglas, on 40 South Douglas.
George Grass.
George, okay, thanks, George. Do you have any other questions? Are you good right now?
I'm good right now.
Okay. Definitely not.
Hey, does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, we got 5 more people who have their hands raised.
Hopefully I just want to make a blanket statement. If it's about water and about water in basements and water on properties, we've already addressed that. So as long as it's new information or new questions, feel free. Okay.
I want to do a suggestion. Because we're going to be seeing a lot more wildlife, coyote populations included going into people's.
Hold on.
Hold on.
I don't know who's speaking. You can't just jump in. Let me try to control.
Is that me?
Yeah, sorry. All right, Patty Ann.
Patty Ann? Going once? Going twice? Next?
Okay,
Move on to the next one, please.
all right. So people are raising their hands. So it looks like they have other questions, but I'll go to Mary Parsons. She's got her hand raised.
Thank you,
Hi,
Mary
Mary, go
Parsons, 754 Union Street. About that stream, I want to know what the groundwater table is there, because I know that stream overflows its banks, and it overflows big time into people's yards on Union Street. So I was wondering, are you raising up the land to build your homes? To avoid the groundwater table?
I believe they are.
Okay, so then that's a problem for all the other residents. They should be building their home. If they can't put a cellar in on normal land, there's gonna be a big problem. That stream overflows its banks very easy. And those people know it. So now they are gonna have a problem because you now are putting homes that you are raising up so that they don't get flooded, but is now gonna flood out other people.
Well, Mary, in the business district end of this development, which is the meat of the development, there is stormwater management going in. Which we have a professional engineer reviewing.
Right. But the issue is the stream itself is floods its banks before it even gets there. That's what
Right.
I'm telling you. It floods its banks before it even goes under Union Street.
Right, but the stormwater management system is not going to allow any more flow off the site.
But
That's the
my
reason.
issue is the groundwater table itself and the stream and how close it is to those homes that they are raising up so
I
that they
believe the gr-
don't get flooded out.
I believe the groundwater table is at about 18 inches, 2 feet,
Yeah.
Henry, is that correct?
On the south end, that's correct. On the northern end, it's deeper.
Okay.
It's a higher elevation up there. But we, Mary, as you know, when we witnessed these test holes, we found standing water in these test holes that weren't there when they originally did their test. But we also look at the soil colors and determine what the maximum seasonal high groundwater is. And that's what they're using for the basis of their design. And so that their basis will be set up above a maximum high groundwater elevation.
So in other words, what Henry's saying is, no matter what the groundwater table was when they dug the test pits, there's staining in the soil that shows the historical high point. Correct, Henry?
That's right, Doug.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions?
Diane and Sean have their hand raised again.
Okay, so we've had a lot of restrictions, water restrictions over the past couple of years. How is this gonna make it so we're gonna have fewer restrictions? We are told not to water our yard. We're told that there's just not enough water. So how is this gonna be a good idea? How is this not gonna make the situation worse?
I couldn't agree with you more, sir, but that's really not what we're reviewing tonight.
Well, conservation, I sort of figured water equals
Conservation and water don't necessarily equal one another. The water restrictions are put in place by the Rockland Abington Water Department. And they're the ones who issue permits for new homes. So that's where that question would have to be addressed. I do agree with you on that. I can't water my own lawn. But that's not a conservation issue. That's a Rockland Abington Water Department issue.
So I
They're
just
the ones who issue the permits.
That's so hypocritical. So I could just reach out to them and probably get another non-answer. Okay. All right. I guess that's my question, but thanks for answering.
You're welcome.
Hey, Marty, can you clarify what the Conservation Commission's responsibilities are? Maybe that might get some clarification here.
Well, I think the Wetlands Protection Act, what the base of it is to protect the wetland resource areas and the interests that they provide. So any work within 100 feet of a resource area, that could be a vegetated wetland, a stream, 100-year floodplain, riverfront area, any work in the commission's jurisdiction, they can look at to make sure that it won't have an adverse impact on that wetland resource area. And part of that is the stormwater regulations and standards. If the project meets those standards, then it's presumed to protect the interests of the act. So it's really, the commission has jurisdiction only on work within 100 feet of that wetland boundary, essentially, or floodplain or riverfront area. So anything outside of that, they don't have jurisdiction over.
And it's solely based on as it relates to a wetland.
That is correct. Yes, the bottom line is the commission is there to protect the wetland and those public interests the wetland provides. And that includes protection of public water supply, protection of groundwater supply, protection of wildlife habitat, flood control, and things like that. So that's where the flood control and groundwater protection, that's where the stormwater regulations and standards come in. So,
Which all of the Massachusetts stormwater management regulations will be followed on this project 100%. Otherwise, the project will not receive a permit from the Conservation Commission. Correct?
that's right. That's right.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I do, but I have my hand raised.
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You are?
I'm sorry, Brian Kilgallen again, 32 Rice Ave.
Brian.
Hi. The question I have is on the North Detention Basin, which is called the wetlands. That is within, at least according to the documentation, it's called the wetlands. That is within less than 20 feet of garages and other buildings in that area. Isn't that against the Conservation Committee bylaws?
Not an entirely bad point. Retention basins out of the gate,
It's not a wetland.
because they're constructed, are not considered a wetland, but they become a wetland over time. Marty?
On page 2 of your documentation, it's called the wetland.
Well, I think relative to stormwater basins that are built according to the regulations and standards, if they become vegetated with wetland vegetation, they're not a protected resource area.
Still a wetland.
Then how do you know that? Right. Thank you.
So is it a wetland right now? I'll let the applicant answer that.
Well, are you saying once it's immediately constructed, are you asking the question, is it a wetland?
No, is it currently a wetland now?
Where the stormwater basin is proposed?
Correct, which I know it's
No,
not, but I'm
no,
having
it's
you
not
answer
wetland.
that.
It's, in fact, most of it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
Okay. So that question really is not valid. Marty just answered that it's still not protected by the Conservation Commission.
The basin itself, even though it's outside the buffer zone, most of it, since the basin is discharging to an area that's under your jurisdiction, then the commission has the ability to condition a project like the basin to make sure that it protects the interests of the act. So the commission has the ability to make sure that basin is designed according to the stormwater standards and regulations, even though most of it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
Right.
Okay, I have a follow-up to that too. Where is the spillway and the drainage easement on this? Where's the water running to?
As I mentioned previously, the spillways are moved so they're outside of the 25-foot wetland buffer on our revised plan set.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the northern detention pond.
I believe that's piped.
Yes, it's piped by an outlet control structure into a concrete head wall.
Okay, so the water is going to be.
It's piped south,
where?
basically.
It's directed at the wetland
piped
at a
out, okay.
reduced rate compared to the pre-development condition by an outlet control structure. So we choose strategic diameter sizes to let the water out. And that depends
Okay.
on the 10, 25, and 100-year storm event.
Right, okay, but it's pumped back into the stream?
It's let out at a reduced rate into the stream when compared to the pre-development condition. So it's a reduced rate of flow.
Well, the question I have is if there's no flow right now into the stream and you're doing it at a reduced rate, you're increasing the volume of the stream, correct?
Well, there's
There-
water already going into the stream from the property as it stands. That's,
Well, do we know that for sure? Because I'm thinking that it runs, it becomes groundwater and it runs down through by the ledge, which is a whole nother issue. It runs down the ledge and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it runs down to the pond at the end of North Douglas Street. Is that incorrect? Sorry, North Douglas Street isn't on this map. It runs under Rice Ave to down across North Douglas and Holbrook. And then behind Hoadley, I believe there's a pond.
We're familiar with the drainage pattern, and
Okay.
we were out there today. We walked the entire intermittent stream from the rear of the property, which is to the east, and followed it all the way out to the 18-inch culvert at South Douglas. There's no standing water within the wetland that we really could notice, with the exception of there was a continuous flow within the intermittent stream. And I think as Henry and we have discussed this evening, we're not going to increase the rate of flow that's being directed into that wetland or the stream in the post-development condition. We can't, the regulations won't allow us to do that.
Okay, I'm just saying, I was just asking that if you're taking existing groundwater and displacing it, basically.
We're not
That's
displacing.
fine.
it's not groundwater, it's surface water.
Groundwater level.
Okay,
Yeah, we're in fact, we're not, there's no basements proposed. And just to put things in perspective, the stream elevation is probably 10 feet up, say where the town conservation property is, to the northeast of the site. We're probably the finished floor elevations of these units are about 10 feet higher than the stream.
oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Hi.
Considering
this
that
is
this-
Patty Ann. Can you hear me?
Patty Ann?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I log in by my phone, so if you're muted, I wasn't able to have access. I live at 8 Dyer Street. My question is, they talked earlier that they were going to be moving some, doing some filled up here, widen the street. I haven't heard anything being addressed that if they do this 25-foot or widening the street, the corner of this street impacts George's property, Jennifer's property, the Lutz's property, and my property. Going past that ledge, they're still going to have to do all this digging, and they're going to have, there's no way they're going to be able to move any trucks or anything because of that ledge. What are they going to do with that ledge that's not going to impact these four corners of all our property? Because if they blast it, they tunnel it, they move it, that's going to affect the grounding in our property area. Early in the conversation, they said they weren't going to be taking anybody's land. But know what? You're going to have to dig. If you're going to be putting sewer lines here and stuff like that, you're still going to have to dig the piping. You're still going to have to deal all with that, the sewer base at the beginning of that ledge. I have concerns about this.
Okay. Are you gonna be able to put the sewer lines in without blasting? That's a question for the applicant.
That's our hope. We know that there's an outcrop right in front of the Mayo property. But a lot of what's, we're not sure. We haven't done a pre-blast survey or haven't dug test pits within the limit of Dyer Street itself. We didn't encounter any rock at shallow depths near the end of Dyer Street. I think we excavated a couple of test pits in that vicinity. But a lot of this rock, hopefully, if it's encountered, can be removed with a backhoe and a hoe ram without blasting. If for some reason blasting is required, we'll need to meet the state regulations with respect to that operation. Pre-blast surveys will have to be conducted. It'll be coordinated with the fire department, but we don't anticipate that being the case.
So will that be part of the?
12 feet. There's less
Hold
than
on.
12 feet. Sorry.
Hold on. Even though this is not really part of the Conservation Commission, I'm trying to address this for you. The planning board's reviewing the business part of this site, correct? The business zone part of the site? The
Correct.
design review?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming the planning board would probably require a bond for blasting?
Well, they probably require a bond for all the improvements on Dyer Street. Yeah, they're reviewing the entire project, all of the work within Dyer Street and all 4 lots as well.
Okay, so, not sure if I have your name correct, but Patty Ann, was it?
Yes.
So, has the applicant been in front of the planning board yet?
We've had one meeting with the planning board. We have another one in a few weeks.
Okay, so Patty Ann, I suggest that you attend the planning board meeting and you require the planning board to put up a special bond for blasting on this site. And that will hopefully cover any issues that you may have down the road. But as far as for the conservation, that's not part of our review. I'm just trying to put that out there as an option for you, okay? Okay, so.
Okay, my question is, so it just seems that there's meetings after meetings, 3 different departments. You got the zoning here, you got conservation here, you got planning and building here. If I break my property has been surveyed, and in fact, if I remember correctly, McCullen used when they came on and did their survey, they asked me, and I said mine had just been surveyed, and it showed that the whole ledge and all this area here.
Again, this is not really part of this meeting. Unfortunately,
No,
we're here to protect the wetlands, not the ledge.
Okay. All right, can I bring my?
I
well,
suggest that
it's
you
part of
attend the planning board meetings.
Can I bring my survey to the planning board meeting?
You may, yes, but it doesn't have anything to do with a conservation hearing, unfortunately.
But, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off now. We're gonna have another plan in front of us in a couple weeks. That's when we'll take additional questions based on the revised plan. I'm assuming the applicant is gonna request a continuance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say, I appreciate you taking us out of order tonight.
Yeah, no problem, even though it probably lasted as long as the other project would, but that's okay. So for anybody on the call for Dyer Street, I'm assuming the applicant will be back on the 13th?
We will.
Okay, so for anybody on the call for Dyer Street, the meeting is going to be continued until the 13th, and a new plan is going to be presented, and I will take whatever questions you may have tonight then. It's really only prudent to take the questions on the final plan and not the preliminary plan. So rest assured, your questions will be heard and hopefully answered. Okay, so motion for the board to continue this hearing until April
So
13th.
moved.
Second,
Okay, that's all in favor?
yes. Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night. Okay, couple other small things. Zero Hand Street.
That's
What
the
is,
school.
I thought that Shingle Mill was Zero Hingham Street. No,
No.
Zero Pond Street?
It's Pond Street.
Okay. What is, Zero Hingham Street?
The
The daycare?
Primrose School?
the school, Primrose School.
Okay. We already have a
Mr.
hearing open for this, correct?
Yes, we do.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm assuming we're just finalizing any comments tonight?
Mr. Chairman, if you would, it's for Primrose School, but it's for the property. It's related to an unrelated thing to the actual development of Primrose School.
So.
It's
so-
for,
so
it's
says an
it's for,
NOI.
we're here for, I don't believe there's anybody from Primrose School for a notice of intent.
Yeah, that's right.
I am on here to represent the seller to Primrose Schools looking for a certificate of compliance.
So that would be 835 Hingham Street, correct?
Correct.
Doug, this is Kevin Grady. I'm on the hearing actually for the notice of intent as well.
You are, yeah,
Yes.
we have Zero Hingham Street, 835 is after that on the agenda. It's two different
Okay.
things.
So Zero.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, sorry.
Zero Hingham Street is already open, correct?
That is
Yeah.
right. Yep.
Okay. All right, Kevin, what do you got?
Sure. We've met a few times on this over the past several months. I've presented to the commission a few times. At the last hearing, we received Henry's letter saying he was all set with his review for both stormwater, FEMA impacts, any impacts to the wetlands. It eludes me now why we even continued. I can't quite remember, but we had agreed that we were going to have an order of conditions ready. We were going to close the hearing. The commission voted on the setback to the wetlands. Everything was in order. I just can't remember why we continued.
You and me both. Henry?
There's a thing with special conditions. It's a little bit of special.
I don't
Did you ever-
remember exactly why the hearing was continued. Maybe because we had our letters just that particular night, Kevin?
Yeah, that might sound right. Maybe it all came together the last minute.
Did
And,
it have something to do with the turf and how it infiltrates? Something along those lines?
No, Kevin submitted new calculations in that regard, and the letter that I wrote to the commission dated February 3rd
Okay,
summarized my review with regards to his new calculations.
okay,
And I basically said that my January 11th comments have all been addressed, and the project is now in compliance with the stormwater standards,
okay.
in my opinion. And I believe we were gonna, it's been a couple of meetings now, we couldn't have various reasons, but
Thanks, Henry.
we had order of conditions ready. And I believe I sent them to you, Doug.
With a special condition.
Okay,
And I think, and as far as I was concerned, that these order conditions are very similar to the first project, except that we added an inspection of the excavation that would be done for the
Yep.
artificial turf as well as the stormwater basins. And we put a monitoring condition on there that they would have to put up an amount of $4,000 to cover any inspections and reports by either Beta or myself. And other than that, I believe the the order conditions are exactly the same as the prior project on this particular site.
Okay, I believe I have the orders here. I only see the special orders in my hand.
I
does
I
anybody-
sent you the form as well. And, you know, the only thing that was gonna be necessary was that you had to enter the date of issue when you sign it.
Okay,
It does have a date of March 9th on it for closing the hearing, because that's when we expected that to happen.
right.
I can edit
Can you
that.
revise that and have them resend it?
I can revise that form and get it to you tomorrow.
Okay, all right, so, you okay with closing the
Commission
hearing,
needs-
Kevin?
Commission
Yes.
needs to close the hearing, right?
Yes, please. We're requesting to close the hearing and issue the order.
Okay.
I appreciate you taking me out of order there.
Doug?
Motion by the board to,
Hello,
close
Doug?
it. Oh,
What is that?
Charlene?
go ahead.
Was there some item about the turf that they were gonna put down for the play area or something? Is that included in the special, in these special, conditions, Henry?
We're gonna do an inspection when they excavate out to make sure that the material underneath where they're gonna put that turf is suitable.
Okay,
They're gonna put a particular bedding material underneath this turf, but they need to make sure that the material below that is suitable to allow some recharge.
okay, and that's part of the inspection that's going to be done.
That's correct.
You asked about the snow removal and they said where it was gonna be. Yeah. Okay, we didn't have a meeting in February because we had that weird snowstorm and we didn't have a quorum. That's why this didn't get taken up until now.
Correct.
Just for the record.
Okay, so, motion to close the hearing for 0 Hingham Street, Primrose School.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, motion to issue the orders of conditions. For the same address?
Yes.
So
Motion,
moved.
second? Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous. The board's okay with me signing the orders solely?
Yes.
Yes, Charlene Lorraine?
Yes,
Yeah.
from Charlene.
Yes from Lorraine?
Yes.
Okay.
Busy.
So, so as soon as Henry sends me the new version of the orders, I'll sign them and we'll send them out to the applicant. Okay?
That'd be great. Thank you very much, Doug.
Thank you, Kevin.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Thanks, you too.
Don't let the door-
Okay, so just so we can get to the meat of this meeting, is 835 Hingham Street, are they in attendance? Or is this
Yes.
just a COC issue?
It's just a COC issue that we need to issue.
Okay, so we'll do that later. Let's get the, it's getting late and I'm sure everybody's getting tired here. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take a 5-minute pause and then we'll start the shingle mill development, all right? Everybody good with that? I'm sure that everybody could use a bathroom break. That includes me. Thank you.
Is the clerk available to answer a question?
I'm right here, yep.
Sorry, I got disconnected from the internet when Primrose School was going on, and I was listening on my phone. Did I hear right that they were going to release the order of the conditions while they issue the new order conditions?
So you filed the certificate of compliance with the commission for the property, correct?
Correct.
Right, so that we're going to discuss at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Marty, you have that all set, right? She might not
I
be-
did speak to her. I did speak to Marty about it, so
Okay.
I believe
Yeah.
she does. Yeah.
She's gonna review it with the commission at the end of the meeting and we'll vote to issue if everything's all clean.
Okay, we're back. I believe the hearing was already open for Shingle Mill, is that correct?
Yes.
Why can't I hear anybody? Somebody say something.
That's correct, Mr.
Yeah, that
Chair.
is correct. It's a continued hearing, Doug.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. So I'll let the applicant go through a couple things. We have a lengthy comment letter to go through, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Mike Toohill from Conoco Engineers and Scientists, and I will tell you up front that this hearing is going to be shorter than your Dyer Mill one was.
Thank God.
Yeah, I guarantee it. We have two comment letters that we received, one from Henry, one from Marty. And honestly, we're still working through responses to those questions. So I don't want to take up the commission's time tonight going through each of the individual comments until we've had an opportunity to digest what's being asked of us and to put plans together and respond to Henry and Marty with answers to their comments.
Okay.
There are a few things, I know, Marty, there are a few things that Lori especially wants to try to clarify with you. And we can certainly, what you mean by some of the questions, I guess. And so we can certainly do that offline. So that's part one. Part two is we have a ZBA meeting on the 6th of April. And I think at this point, it would be better to continue this hearing until after the ZBA meeting for the reasons first stated, that we really need some more time to address all of the comments. And then because we're going to the ZBA, and that has had a tendency to change things as we go along. So let's get through the ZBA. Let's go through Marty and Henry's comment letters, and we'll see you all again on the 13th.
All right, so let me just just because I know there's a lot of people in attendance.
Okay.
Let me just throw out a couple things.
Doug, hold on one second. So we have two filings in front of us.
I know, that's what I was just about to do.
Okay,
Right.
sorry.
Okay, so we have an NOI in front of us for the project itself.
Correct.
And then we also have an NOI in front of us for the 48-hour well pump test. Do you
And
want
that
to
one,
continue?
I'm sorry, that one, I'm assuming we're talking about the first, Mr. Chairman, not the second,
Correct.
because we have to open the hearing for the second, and we would like to discuss that one tonight.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page.
Okay.
Okay, so the hearing for the project itself, not the well pump test. The board is fine with the continuation. There was a comment letter issued by Beta Group, Marty Nova, with extensive comments on it. I can make that letter public if anybody would like to review it or read it.
Yes.
I didn't make it public up to this point because I wanted the board to be able to review it first. But now that we know that the comment letter's out there, it just came out yesterday, by the way.
Right.
I'll make it public to anybody who wants to send me an email, and I will forward the comment letter back to them. So for anybody who's listening who needs my email address, it's Doug@Boyle, BOYLE, and it's and Chase, CHASE.com. Doug@BoyleandChase.com. For anybody who wants to review the comment letter, just send me an email. Obviously, reference this hearing, and I will send that back to them. It's pretty extensive, and I suggest that you hold your questions until after you read the comment letter. So with that being said, motion to continue the motion to continue the notice of intent for the project itself. Motion?
Second.
Okay, Virginia is abstaining.
Second.
Okay. Charlene and Lorraine, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous with Virginia abstaining from the vote.
Very good.
Okay, so now, next. Motion to open up the hearing for the notice of intent for a 48-hour well pump test on the site. Motion? Ron?
Motion.
Yes. Second.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor? Charlene, Lorraine, Ron, me, yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Mike Toohill from Conoco Engineers and Scientists. And a couple of the perfunctory things to get out of the way. We did notify all the abutters to both parcels. We did put the legal ad in the newspaper. We've sent the certified receipts and the return mail receipts and the tear sheet to the commission. So we have a legal notice that we've sent, we've taken care of. We also received, as you did too, the file number from the Department of Environmental Protection. So we're ready to roll on this. So what I'm going to do, if I can, is share my screen and just put up the plan showing the pump test.
Please do.
Okay. Everybody can see that now, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, so I've zoomed it in a little bit. This is obviously the same site we've been talking about during the previous hearing. This is the existing condition plan showing the wetlands, showing the uplands, and showing the different parts of the pump test. The applicant is looking at two options for providing water to the potential development on the site. The first and probably the preferable way would be to hook up to the local public water supplier. There have been negotiations going on with the local public water supplier, and I've not been part of it, but I understand there are some monetary issues involved that make it worthwhile to also investigate the potential to do an on-site well source. And so in order to do an on-site well source for what would be a community non-transient system serving just this development, the Department of Environmental Protection requires that you put together a protocol for a pump test. And that's been done. On-site engineering did that. They've been back and forth with the department on the protocol, and we have an accepted protocol with the Department of Environmental Protection to do a 48-hour pump test. There are 3 wells that we're looking at on the site. You can see my cursor moving around them. There are 3 drilled bedrock wells in this area, and the pump test requires that you pump them separately and in tandem, and there's a lot of very specific ways that it has to be pumped in order to satisfy the department. But from the Wetland Protection Act standpoint, one of the most important things from the pump test is not just can you get a firm yield from the wells, and what happens if you pump 2 wells at a time or 3 wells at a time, what happens to the entire system that supplies water to the wells. That's very important, but also very important is when you pump these wells, does it have any impact on surface water resources, including the wetlands and the vernal pool? And so in order to do that, as part of the pump test, you put monitoring points in generally they're in the wetlands. And so we have 3 monitoring points that we're proposing in the wetlands. And I know that Marty's got a comment letter, and there are a number of questions that we'll go through about, do we really need to have them in the wetlands, and why are you doing that, and when are you going to pump them? And I'll go through all that, but there are reasons why we set it up this way. So when you pump the wells, you want to make sure that you're not drawing water down in the wetland systems or in the vernal pool. And so the best way to do that is to monitor what's going on while you're doing the pump test, because the pump test generally is much more intensive pumping than you'll ever have during actual operation. And that's on purpose. The DEP wants you to kind of stress test the system to make sure that there's a level of safety involved while this system, this well production would be in production. So that's what we're doing here. So we have 3 monitoring locations. We've got a piezometer in the wetlands here. This is the vernal pool. And so we are talking about putting a piezometer. And a piezometer is a hand advanced, very small diameter tube with a metal point on it. And you can either dig them in or pound them in. Typically you wind up pounding them in, and they don't have to go in very deep. You go down, maybe 4 feet. The bottom of the piezometer has slots on it that let the groundwater in. And so if you're pumping and you're moving water from that system, you'll see a drop within the tube of the water level. And that's what gets monitored. And that gets monitored for 5 days before you do the test. Immediately when you start the test, right before you start it, immediately after you start it, and then every day you're doing the test, you do it at least twice a day. And then when you stop the test, you continue to monitor that, and you monitor the other well that you're not pumping to see if there's any drawdown and then rebound of the wells. So it's a very standard protocol that we go through with the pump test. So we've got this piezometer here in the vernal pool in the wetland here. There's a staff gauge piezometer cluster here in the wetland, and another one here in the wetland. So those are the 3 surface water wetland monitoring points. The water will be pumped out of these wells, and it'll be pumped through discharge pipes up to this upland area up here. And we're proposing to put in a large straw bale crib that has erosion control fabric inside of it, has crushed stone around the outside, and as Marty suggested in her letter, add another layer of protection on it and put core fiber rolls or straw wattles or something on the downstream side, because the water is going to want to run obviously back down this way. And you have to pump out of, this is the zone of influence of the well. So when you discharge, you have to discharge away from where you're pumping, because you don't want to discharge the water right back onto where you're pumping. So that's why we're putting the crib way up in here. So we're going to have protection, and this is not stormwater, this is groundwater. So there are no stormwater requirements. We don't have to do a stormwater management form. We don't have to do stormwater reports. This is a groundwater test, groundwater pumping test. So that's kind of the setup of the test. There's a lot more detail about how the test is accomplished in the notice of intent. And I know that Beta had a number of questions and comments about the test, and I'd like to address a few of those. The first is there was a comment made, actually several comments within the letter, suggested taking this piezometer out of the vernal pool area, out of the wetland that contains the vernal pool, and moving it outside the 25-foot buffer zone. And we can do that, but it kind of defeats the purpose, because you want to know when you turn these pumps on if the impact is occurring in here. That's number one. Number two, you want to do that while this pool is full. So you want to do it during what's considered the vernal pool season, as opposed to waiting until the middle of summer when everything dries up. You want to know whether the effect on this vernal pool is going to accrue when it's the most important time for the vernal pool, which is during the amphibian breeding season. So that's why we're proposing to do the pump test now in the spring. And that's why we propose to put the piezometer in the vernal pool. Both of those things can be modified if you want, but I think it kind of defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do by monitoring what's going on in the vernal pool and monitoring what's going on in these wetlands. Same thing if we moved, this piezometer immediately upslope of the wetland, we'd still get a pretty good idea of what's going on with groundwater. When I've done these before, it's always better to have it in the wetland, sometimes a staff gauge in the stream. You get as close to the area that you don't want to affect as possible. So during the pump test, if we start to see drawdown in these piezometer clusters, you stop the pump test because you've answered the question. You can't pump these wells at whatever capacity you're pumping them at without having an impact. And that's what the department wants to know. They want to know, are you going to have an impact on surface resources by doing a groundwater well extraction? So that's specifically why we set the test up the way we did. Trying to remember, Marty, there were a couple other comments in the letter. We can go through those if you want. But that's kind of the gist of it. That's why we set the test up the way we did. That's why we want to run it when we want to run it. And the purpose obviously is to give a backup in case we can't hook up to the community supplier, water supplier. So, Mr. Chairman, maybe it's best just to have questions from the peer reviewers or questions from the board.
Sure. So I'll give Marty the floor. And she can kind of summarize a couple of her comments, and then the board will make some comments. So Marty, if you're ready.
Yeah, sure. Couple of things. One is it has to do with the bylaw and the boundary of the vernal pool as defined by your bylaw. It's my understanding that the ZBA has not waived the local wetlands protection bylaw and regulations. So therefore, this filing should have been under the bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act both at this point. So I think that if the commission, after, we work through some of these issues, considers issuing an order of conditions right now, then the bylaw would apply, so that they would have to revise the plan showing the correct boundary to the vernal pool. Relative to my comments on the placement of the piezometers to monitor potential drawdown from the pump test, I had no issue with the piezometers actually in the wetland itself. I recommended that there'd be a special condition that just prohibited any vegetation from being cut for the installation of these wells. I mean, they can avoid trees and shrubs and put them in by hand. So I had no issue there. The one issue I had with the well in the pool itself, I mean, a vernal pool, the water budget to a vernal pool is both, in most cases, both groundwater and runoff. So placing a piezometer directly in a flooded vernal pool during breeding season, you know, doesn't really measure the impact of a drawdown in groundwater fully. So I think that they should either put the well, the piezometer 25 feet outside the vernal pool, maybe towards the actual pump test itself, and see what it's doing to the groundwater. Because that's really what they want to find out. You know, if they want to put in some type of gauge in the flooded pool itself and watch the drawdown looking at a gauge, they could do that too. But I think that placing a piezometer in a certified vernal pool to measure the drawdown of groundwater, it may not be the best approach for that. Plus, placing a piezometer in a certified vernal pool during breeding season, I mean, they'll have to get in the pool itself. You know, there may be some egg masses in there. They may, you know, they may step on something. I mean, it's just not a good idea. So I don't understand the need of putting the piezometer directly in the certified vernal pool itself. You know, measuring the drawdown and groundwater can be done outside the limit of the actual depression. So those are our main comments. I mean, there are other things that could be addressed with a special condition or two, but really it's the bylaw definition of a vernal pool, and then also the placement of this piezometer directly in the pool. I mean, if they want to do measure the drawdown outside the breeding season, that's fine when the pool is dry. But right now it's deep standing water, and I don't think it's really a accurate way of measuring the impact to that pool.
Okay, and we do have a staff gauge there too. And if you would prefer us take it and move it, you know, you said closer to the wells, if we want to move it somewhere down into here, outside of the mean high water, but still within 100 feet. So therefore still within what's considered as vernal pool habitat under the bylaw. We can certainly put the piezometer here, or we can just move it, you know, slightly outside of the vernal pool up here. And we'll still see groundwater. And that's what I suggested with the wetlands. I mean, this one we're putting right on the edge. We can move it just to the other side of the wetland, and we'll still see ground.
Yeah, again, I don't have any, I personally, you know, I would advise the commission, there's nothing, I don't think there's any reason to not allow a piezometer in the actual wetland itself. But it's really the flooded vernal pool, and the fact that it's may not only be groundwater that's providing that water budget there. It could be runoff as well, combination. So I think a staff gauge and a monitoring or piezometer outside the actual flooded area would be probably the best way to really look at an impact to the pool. From
do you mean keep the staff gauge in the pool though, so we can see water level?
You said there's a staff gauge in there right now?
Yeah, there's a proposed cluster with a staff gauge and a piezometer at each of these areas, so that you see surface water. If there is surface water, you see surface water and groundwater.
Well, you could put the staff gauge right on the edge of the actual depression where it's flooded.
Like here.
Right on the edge of the water.
Yeah, sure.
Where there's no breeding going on.
And move the piezometer up here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would recommend.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
And the one thing the commission has to vote on is allowing that piezometer within the actual bylaws vernal pool boundary. So
Right.
we'd have to allow that.
Oh, maps, huh?
I don't think that's a huge issue, but.
Yeah. Yeah.
One second. Okay. So, does the applicant have any more to offer on this?
Morning, George. Hold on.
Who's talking?
The maps.
Okay. Does the applicant have any more to offer on this?
No, I mean, we've received Marty's letter. I'm sure there are some other points in the letter that we need to address, but I think we've got the gist of it.
Okay.
There's other maps too.
So my suggestion from the town end of things, the Conservation Commission, is we would like somebody to monitor this whole activity. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the test. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that the test is gonna really cause any issues, but from the Conservation Commission end of things, we would like to have a separate independent somebody monitor these tests. Is the applicant okay with that?
I can't imagine they wouldn't be. I'll check with them, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't be to have a reviewer out there while we're doing the measurements. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea, just to kind of put another level of, review on this thing, another level of eyes. Not that we don't trust you or anything, but you know what? It's always better to have two than one. So the Conservation Commission is going to request that I believe that Beta Group offers that service, Marty. Is that true?
And yeah, we have different disciplines, our water supply group, we have environmental engineers that could be out there during this and understanding what's going on and monitoring it. Yes.
Yeah. I would like to request that as long as it's in your schedule that you set that up with the applicant. And
Sure.
from the town end of things, at the end of the report, maybe issue a letter or a comment letter explaining your findings, so the board can kind of take into account what the applicant found and what you guys found independently, if you understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best way to handle this pump test thing.
Yep.
There were, Mr. Chairman, there were requests in Marty's letter that we provide some, existing condition survey information, which we can certainly do because it's going to be derived from the other submittal. And there were some similar questions about edges of resource boundaries because the ANRAD, the ORAD was originally for the wetlands. And so we've been going through that with the other project to identify, all the resource areas on the site. So we could piggyback on that and certainly provide that information as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know what? The more information, the more communication, the better. So that's where we stand on this. So I'm gonna poll the board, see if the board has any questions, and then we'll take some questions from the audience. Ron, you have any questions? Virginia's abstained from this hearing. She's here as a resident and a butter only. So Charlene and Lorraine, do you guys have any questions on your end?
I don't have any questions, but I would recommend that they definitely take the non-invasive request that Marty has made for the monitoring in the vernal pool, that be part of what they do. And I definitely would recommend that we have someone independently monitoring this whole thing on our behalf. And as you say, give us a report so that we have more information under this procedure.
I agree. Lorraine?
I agree with Charlene, and as far as
Not me?
oh well,
We'll think about it.
Thank you.
Well, Charlene came up
Yeah,
with
figures.
it. No, I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, so I'll let the secretary run this gig. Does anybody in the audience have any questions?
I do.
Hold on.
Hold on.
If you have a question, you need to raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
Okay,
Don't forget. this
hold
is high
on. I'm
school.
trying to find where I do that.
You know what, Mary?
Yeah, Mary, why don't you just go, because I can't.
Okay,
Because,
it's raised,
Mary,
I
because you're
think.
so good for the town, we're gonna let you go first. Go ahead.
Okay. I have issues with them tramping around that vernal pool at this time of year because of the obligate species that use that pool. They get a little skittish. So are their piezometers already in the ground?
No, they are not.
Mary, can I interrupt
So
you for
they're
a
not,
second?
so they're gonna be, yep,
Mary Parsons, address?
754 Union Street,
Thank you.
Rockland.
I know most people know that,
USA.
but thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's breeding time now, and they're gonna stop breeding either this coming weekend or the next week. I've seen them skate right on ice, and yes, it's gonna snow, but that doesn't bother them. They have like an antifreeze-like substance in their blood. So I need to know, are they gonna be tramping all out there? Because this vernal pool is also being challenged.
They are
I
not, and actually what we just heard from Marty and from the commission is that we are being asked to, and we're going to agree to move that piezometer outside of the mean high water level. So we're actually not going to be in the vernal pool at all.
And my next question is because there are companies that deal only in water supply and surface water supply and all the technical aspects of that, and drinking water supply from wells. Marty mentioned that they have a section in their group that does that, but I also would like a copy of all of this sent to the Rockland and Abington Joint Waterworks in case they may want to have their experts, which are Weston and Sampson's, look over these documents in this area, because this is in our surface water supply.
We have absolutely no problem with that, Mary.
Nor do we. It's all DEP public record.
Okay, and is anyone going to be checking on that vernal pool for the activity that goes on out there?
Well, we're not going to be in the vernal pool. We'll have people on site and they can certainly look at it if you'd like.
I know, but is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Say something, Mary, might help. on-
right, but there's going to be people working.
We're getting breakup. Great.
Maybe I can help on this one, Mr. Chair. This hearing's gonna have to be continued because the plan needs to be revised. So it's gonna go to your April
13th.
13th meeting. And then, assuming the hearing's closed, then the commission has 21 days to issue an order of conditions. So that can bring you into, May.
Right.
So
So that gets past breeding season.
So it gets out of that, that April, timeframe, end of March, April.
That window. Okay.
And then, and then the type of work.
So
that-
they'll be, yeah.
The type of work they're gonna do, Mary, is basically on foot and with minimal type of equipment. It would be just like you and I walking around that pool during the day to look at it. So, this work can be done midday. So as far as, migration to the pool and impacts for, from the work on the migration to the pool, it's going to be late, in May, and it's going to be all foot traffic. So I don't think that there's anything significantly, to worry about there. So.
Okay, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would know so much about a frog's love life.
Mary, I think you've said that before. You
I
can't just
think I
keep on
heard that
saying
before, Mary.
that. We need a new one. Come on.
They're very skittish critters, so as footsteps, they shut up.
Anyway, do you have any more questions, Mary? No?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience have any questions?
Chair, I don't see any here, hands raised.
Okay, so I believe the plan has to be revised, so this hearing will be continued until the 13th.
Also, Mr. Chair, if they have, they only filed under the act, they should file under your bylaw as well. So they should revise their NOI and their filing, and there's also a filing fee.
The applicant okay with that?
Sure, unless the ZBA on the 6th waives the bylaw.
That's perfectly fine with us.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or if that happens, then obviously that's, not needed. So, yeah, I think that's a good plan. We'll see you on the 13th with the revised plan, hopefully a couple more comments, back and forth, and maybe we can get this portion of the project done. You guys want to extend the actual project hearing, which I don't even know if I can do this now, but beyond the 13th to address all the, all the outstanding issues?
Can we keep it till the 13th and then, prior to the 48 hours when you have to post the notice, if we see the need to continue, we'll let you know.
Okay.
At that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to have it on the agenda anyway, because that's the reason I just said the fact that I don't think I can do this, because I've already announced that hearing as continued.
Right.
But if you could let us know, because we're also gonna have the other project on this hearing, and, we really don't want this to turn into a 3 or 4 hour hearing, so.
Yeah, and you don't want them to go first next time, right?
Well, I might try to space it out. That's all. That's all. I mean, people have other things to do than this, so.
Sure.
So, I might try to space it out if I can, and I can let everybody know, so.
Hey, Doug,
Yes,
you have a hand raised.
I do.
Well, not you, but someone's got their hand raised and wants to speak.
And this hand is?
Sherry?
Sherry Valley at 411 Pond Street. I just would like to know if those documents and comment letters will be posted to the town website.
We can, well, the comment letter from Beta Group, I can see if I can get that posted, or you can send me an email and I can certainly forward it along to you. I can forward along, I can forward all the information.
For all citizens?
I will contact the town and see if they can post it on the website. I don't know how well that'll go, but I can certainly try.
Thanks. And I did send an email too, so thank you.
Okay, yep. And when I respond to that, I'll just take all the documents all in one and send them to you.
Excellent.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions? Well, looks like you were right, Michael. It's a lot shorter than the other one.
Okay.
Okay, so motion to continue the NOI for the pump test until the 13th.
Yes.
Motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous. Okay. So I guess we'll see you all on the 13th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so we have one more thing on the agenda, and that's 835 Hingham Street, and I believe this is just a little cleanup for the Dunkin' Donuts property. I believe Marty knows all about this. If you could outline what's going on.
I think the entity that requested it is here.
I'm here. Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
shit, you should have said something.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I asked.
I'm used to it. So
I wouldn't have kept you here all this time.
I appreciate it. It's part of the job, you know.
Good luck.
My name is Attorney Christopher Alphen, Blattman, Bobrowski, and Haverty. I'm here on behalf of DeLuca Properties Limited. And like you said, Mr. Chairman, this is just some cleaning up to do. I'm happy to share my screening. I can show the actual plan that shows where the actual property it is compared to our property, or you can take my word for it. And the word is that our property is not the Dunkin' Donuts property, and there was an order of conditions that was recorded on the property that encumbers our property. And we're just looking for a partial release from our property and, in order to sell the property to Primrose Schools that's now encumbered by the order of conditions you just voted on, 45 minutes ago.
Oh, I thought this was the actual Dunkin' Donuts property.
Well, nope. We're
Kinda
actually
is,
just
but kinda not.
right. The order of conditions is for the Dunkin' Donuts project. There's no question about that. But what happened here by mistake or omittance, or because the title was in one ownership at one time, the order of conditions actually just got recorded on my client's property. So it's just a matter of cleaning up the title here.
Okay, Marty, do you have any
Yeah,
comments? We
my
talked
own,
about this.
I actually encouraged Chris to join the conversation because it is a little messy, but I mean, I believe at the time the Dunkin' Donuts order was issued, it was, I think the land was subdivided after that. And
correct.
So the Dunkin' Donuts property was much larger when the commission issued the order. It was subdivided into smaller pieces. And in this particular lot is one of those, or actually 3 of those pieces. And so actually what I did was I prepared the certificate of compliance and I checked off the box complete, a complete COC instead of a partial, because the Dunkin' Donuts is done. And
For a long time.
yeah, and that was the only work that was under that order of conditions. So really it's a complete COC at this point. And I've emailed that to Carrie, she has it. So, I recommend to the commission that to issue the full COC.
Yeah, I would agree. You know what? Let's get to the end of this. We've
Yeah.
heard about this property,
Yeah, it was all one property.
a couple too many times. And I don't think that a partial is really appropriate. So
Yeah, yeah,
I think we should just clean this up and be done with this.
yep.
Does the board have any questions on this? I mean, it's pretty clear what's going on here. We all knew it was one piece at one time.
You broke it up.
Yeah.
Ron, no questions? Virginia? Lorraine, Charlene, you have any questions on this particular issue?
I'm just wondering if you put the 3 piece numbers on the completed COC.
They're on there.
It's on there. Okay, well, then
Yes.
just see, now
Yes.
that gives it legitimacy, and
Yeah.
that's fine then. I think that will work. That's
And
good.
hopefully we don't have to hear this again.
This is true.
Yep.
And I would suggest, Marty, if you want to send me the draft certificate, I might be able to just take a look to make sure for the purposes of title, it does what it needs to do, just because this property is pretty tricky and it's registered land, so it's being reviewed by the land court. So I'm happy to take a look just to make sure that I believe that it's been done correctly for title purposes.
If the commission's okay with it, I can forward it right now.
I don't have a problem with it, but if we vote on it and there's any changes, we will
Oh,
have to
yeah.
revote. If
Well, you could obviously vote subject to making sure that
Correct.
the document conforms with title requirements so that it gets recorded properly. You can obviously condition your decision on that.
I think it'll be, I don't think there's gonna be any issue, so I think that's
Okay.
it's a safe one, but that would be a bad idea to,
Yes, so Marty, if you don't mind, if you could forward that along, that'd be great.
yep.
Motion by the board to issue the COC for 835 Hingham Street
Yes.
and be done with this.
Second.
Lorraine, Charlene?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
And we'll get that signed hopefully this week for you.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
Next time, say something.
Well, you want goodwill with the board. You don't want to be rude, you know? So,
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have sat through that shit, to be honest with you, but that's up to you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on. I think that's it, right? Oh, Marty's gonna give us a Moynihan rink update. Because she just wanted to do this, even though I asked her not to. Just kidding. But she wants to give us an update on a couple happenings out there, and I can kind of chime in because I'm aware of them also. So.
Yep. Yep. I was hoping to have a little bit more organized notes for tonight for this, but I don't have them. Basically, we Moynihan Rink right now is working in the access road up to the wetland crossing. They're not working in the wetland crossing anymore. They have back with some information on how they would to de-water that area in order to continue working in that crossing. And we did take a look at it, and we are going to put something in writing for the commission on that. We think that their dewatering plan is basically fine, but we're going to recommend some contingencies be placed on that to make sure that, if for some reason any of that real silty water is getting by and into the wetland and is migrating towards that vernal pool, then they have contingencies in place to stop that from happening. One of them is stop working the road, but then we need to have some other measures in place to really get on that so that the pool is not impacted. So we've been keeping an eye on the site. We haven't been out there this week. They have been providing weekly reports. What they're doing out there. They've asked to be able to fuel their vehicles in another location other than actually on Hunt Drive. I was out there and I talked to them, and for now they said they're fine fueling on Delahunt Drive, but they have set up another location that they would like to be able to fuel. It is outside the buffer zone, and they actually have an actual sign out there, indicating where they could fuel, and they actually have a spill kit on site now, in case, God forbid, something happened and actually there's a release of fuel oil or gasoline, diesel. So in that respect, I think, they're fine there. They're going to want to start, dewatering at some point in probably the near future. So we need to really get our comments in writing and back to them and see what they come up with for contingencies. I've been out there, the water coming through the wetland crossing is clean. All the water heading to that pool is clean. There's no silt in it anymore. They're not working there. So for now, things are okay out there. So it's the next phase that we need to get through with this project. And so.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, on the wetlands crossing. We can't allow work in there until the breeding season's over. We were talking about this.
Yeah, what your order condition says is they couldn't cut and stump vernal pool's breeding season, and they didn't.
Okay.
However, we had a major rain event, which they didn't handle very well out there. That really fine coffee water got by, which is really hard to control. And it got towards the vernal, it didn't get into the vernal pool, but it was probably within 30 feet of it. Of course, everything halted, So it didn't get worse, but it was pretty close to affecting that pool. It wasn't breeding season yet, so it would have settled out. But again, we just don't want that to happen again. So they're gonna have to really pay attention and be on top of it. And when they are doing the dewatering out there, we need to be out there a lot to make sure that it doesn't have an impact.
Okay, okay, and I've given the okay for you guys to be out there as
Yep.
needed.
Yeah.
We've been getting the reports on a constant basis after quarter inch of rain,
Yeah,
Is
this,
it?
yes, yep, yep,
the SWIP report or whatever you
Mhm.
call that thing.
yep.
I've been getting those on a regular basis and I know you've been copied. As far as the site, we had that major, or we had that breach of the erosion controls. The reason we do know about the breach is due to Mr. Bromberg, not the applicant. I'll just make that known. I did have an extensive meeting with the applicant and Marty, regarding this, and that's the reason that now they're even more on top of exactly what's going on out there, and there'll be more site visits by Beta Group. So I feel confident moving forward that we'll be in good shape.
Are they
So,
building it? They start building
no, they don't even have the road done yet. They're not, they're pretty good ways away from that.
it? No, where are you gonna get the water supply from?
They're getting the water from Forestry, I believe, water and sewer. So,
Mr.
Marty?
Chair, your question about the order of conditions, I didn't finish it. So your order said they can't do the stumping and cutting during breeding season. But you had another condition in there that said that their work cannot have an impact on that vernal pool.
correct, that's where I was going with that.
If their work has an impact to that vernal pool, then the commission has a right to cease and desist out there.
Correct.
It would be in violation of their order. So you have, so your order basically said, you can go ahead and work, but do not impact that pool. So,
And I made the owner's rep, the site contractor, and the general contractor aware of that. Which they really were not aware of. They must have really not gone through the orders that well, but, they are aware of it now. So, who knows what they're gonna do with that information, but, anyway, so that's it. I see, Mike on the meeting. Do you have any comments to toss in here, Mike? I'll give you the floor for, a couple minutes or so.
Yep, thanks. I don't know how to raise my hand, so it's good that you guys are on top of them now. It was off to a bad start. It certainly seems like they're gonna begin to abide by the order of conditions. Seem like I think you're right, they weren't paying attention to it too much in the beginning, so I'm glad you're on top of it now. I think you gotta stay on top of them. And the other thing I was gonna ask, I don't know if I was mistaken on special order of condition C4, but I may have misread it when I asked, so they need a plan with the existing erosion controls on it. After rereading it a few times, I'm not sure, but it does, is there a plan with the existing erosion controls as they're laid out right now? Was it the same as the first plan? Or?
So I believe in my meeting with the owner's rep and the GC, that was brought up, and I don't believe, Marty, if you could help me out with that, I don't believe that they either could, would, or willing to do a new erosion control plan because they've already done the original.
yeah, they already did it. They already had a plan. They had it prepared for the construction meeting. The only thing about that plan was it's not stamped by a PLS.
Because,
The surveyed plan is just not stamped by a PLS.
because Mike, I did bring up your comment about potentially more than 5,000 square feet with the owner and the GC. And I did ask them to provide a new plan, and I don't believe they're gonna be willing to do that.
Yeah, no, I didn't, so.
I mean, I guess I could push, but,
Well, can I ask
You know.
Marty if she can go out and just see what she thinks, if it's expanded from the original plan?
well, Marty's not a surveyor. Maybe she could set something like that up. I mean, I don't have a problem with going out and verifying it, but I can tell you that the applicant was pretty adamant about the fact that their original plan is what the current conditions are. I mean, to argue with that, I mean, I guess we can try. And I don't have an issue. I mean, if they're beyond the 5,000 feet, then, I believe they're gonna call it temporary. And, we'll go from there, but
Well, they can, yeah. I mean, the one thing that we could do easily, relatively easily, is we could GPS the points. I know that they were close to the 5,000 square feet. I mean, they were,
very close.
very close. So,
My ass,
so, I mean, even if we GPSed it and then quantified the number of square feet, it wouldn't be accurate.
Unless it's ridiculously off. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Unless it's
exactly,
7,000 feet.
So we couldn't, I mean, we have sub-meter accuracy GPS equipment at Beta. And, if it's a good day, we can get pretty accurate. But then we have to quantify it, the area, it's, if it's, like Doug said, if it's really off, we'd be able to, make a bold statement. But if it's close, it's a tough one. I think that the commission can ask for an as-built of that crossing and stamp by PLS and see what it is. Because at this point, it is what it is. They've already altered it. But if they've altered more than 5,000 square feet, then they have to come back to the commission and get an amended order. And also, I believe that it may trigger some other things too. So, anyways,
So when would we ask for that as built? It has to be built, right?
once the crossing is done, yep. And the walls are in.
So if we ask for an as built and a PLS puts his stamp on it, it's gonna be accurate.
You can't argue with it. And again,
Right.
unless you really see something that's
Like way off.
way off.
Because one PLS is not gonna cross another PLS's lines. That's not a common practice anyway, I know that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so I guess what this comes down to, Mike, is once they're done, we will ask for an as-built, of course, because that's what we would normally do anyway. And then at that time, we can kind of quantify that question, but to force them now, I don't believe that they need to provide it because they've already provided a plan. And like Marty said, if it's already disturbed, it's already disturbed. There's no way they can get away from it now. There's no way they can hide it.
Well, if I can just comment on that, I don't want to push this to death either. From the get-go, I thought it was over 5,000 when they submitted the plan a couple of years ago. And now that it's in there, you do have an order of condition that said that erosion control should be in place. The location shown on a plan certified by a PLS and inspected by the commission. If they refuse and to do, certified by a PLS, then that's up to you guys to do something, if you want. And after the fact, they can, you know, oh, well, we improved the area that we did go in too much, but we improved it after the fact. So
So to stop you right there, Marty, you said it wasn't stamped by a PLS?
Was not stamped by PLS, no.
Well, then that's our,
Yeah,
that's our way in.
yeah.
I mean, they might be under, I don't know, you know what I mean? But it just, you know, and I hope I'm not stirring it up if it is under, you know what I mean? But,
Well, I can tell you when I go asking for a plan stamped by a PLS, it's definitely gonna stir it up, but you know what, if that's what they were supposed to do, then
that's what they agreed to do when they agreed with your order of conditions. And, you know, seemingly, like you said, from the get-go, they didn't abide by a few of the order of conditions, and then they send you a letter saying we're gonna start abiding by them. Anyway, that's all. I don't, they just should be doing the right thing out there, that's all. You know, and they started off wrong. If you're on top of them now and you're good from here on in, you know, I'll leave it up to the committee what they want to do with that, you know, I won't push it anymore.
So I will request a plan from them stamped by a professional land surveyor, and we'll see what they come back with. I mean, if it's over 5,000 feet, it's over 5,000 feet. I mean, it'd be very hard to tell that by eye, Mike, but
Yeah.
It would, that's why I don't want to push it too much. You know
Can't, yeah.
what I mean?
you know,
Even-
I
even
mean,
the
I don't know
stamp
if we
plan.
have other battles to fight beyond that in
Yep,
the future. So again, you know, I'm willing to ask, and I'm, you know,
yeah,
again, and we can kind of go from there. I mean, I know you made a public records request for that plan. That's the reason you haven't received it is because there's no plan. I
okay,
know you have the original plan. But again, I can ask and see how it's received. Again, there might be other battles on this project that are
right,
probably more worth the fight than that. Because at the end of the day, we're gonna get an as-built, so we're gonna know what's disturbed at the end of the day, and we'll, you know, again, I'll ask the question. I have no problem with that. And we'll go from there. Fair enough?
yes, if I just comment one more time, you know, it does appear a little smaller now that there's erosion control on the east side that is going north to south. So that's it kind of like squeezed in the wetland area a little bit. That wasn't there in the beginning. And that actually should probably be in a plan right now, to be honest with you. But that was just put in not too long ago, a couple months ago. But all right, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I mean, this is not a hearing, so there's not really any questions.
Right.
But, you know, the board's been updated. I mean, you know, I got beta on this as much as I can at this point. And I am getting the SWIP reports or whatever you call those things. They are sending me other reports. So I feel confident that they've been warned, and I feel confident that they will be abiding by exactly what we're asking for. I did make it clear to the owner's rep that any adverse effect to that pool is going to be a problem. And he's well aware of that now, and he was not well aware of that. I believe that's the reason the project was going so slowly. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. So I believe there'll probably be a stoppage of work, but that's, you know, I can't predict that. So.
And Doug, you gave out your email address earlier. I missed that.
What's that?
I said you gave out your email earlier.
I gave out a email.
Yeah.
And why do you ask?
Oh, I missed it.
And what would you need that for, sir?
No, I'm just kind of joking with you, Doug.
Oh, I know where you're going. I can see where you're going. And you don't miss a goddamn thing, so don't tell me you missed it.
Yeah, just a joke.
Don't,
Thank you.
Don't you dare tell me you missed something when I know you don't miss anything. How's that sound?
Good enough.
I'm sure you wrote that down. Anyway, does anybody else have any questions? So
I
we just
do.
have, uh-oh. Oh, Mary, come on. It's only things over.
No, that dewatering, I'm going down to check that pool tomorrow and I was planning on doing that, but I don't like them dewatering down there. And I have
They've been
pictures
de-
of them
Whoa,
leaving
whoa.
their heavy equipment on that
Which-
road.
Which place are we talking about?
The very same place you're talking about, that vernal pools. CVP 2710.
I don't know the
Are they-
numbers.
Are they dewatering, Mary?
Yes,
They're dewatering out there? Okay.
that, if you're within 30 feet of that vernal pool, that water, yeah, I'm worried about it reaching that pool. There's a couple of places water reaches that pool. Plus there's
Well-
amphibians in that area.
The crossing's further than 30 feet. And what I said was the migration of the silty water got within 30 feet. Yeah, so the crossing itself is more than 100, but. So let me know if they do watering.
Okay, but I have pictures of them leaving their heavy equipment on the road. Period. And now they've put up a fence, so that kind of tells me something's going on.
I did notice the fence myself, so.
What's
Yeah.
the fence? What fence is?
And
What is
it's,
that?
and it's locked now, so I can't walk in there.
Oh, the fence on the thing, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
with
Yeah,
their
that's all-
equipment sitting on the road behind it.
Unless I want to
Heavy
go swimming.
equipment. And up against the silk fence.
Okay. All right, so let's pay some bills. All right, so you know what? It's 20 past 9. The hell?
I'm gonna sign off.
I'm sure you are, Marty. I appreciate all the help. Thank you.
Henry.
And if-
Bye.
Henry, you still there?
Yeah.
Henry,
He's on mute.
he's sleeping.
Oh, yeah, I'm just enjoying the conversation.
And maybe possibly a beer or two, but anyway.
I hope so. That's what I'm going to get right now.
Hands off. All right, take care, guys.
Hey, we're all at home. We can.
Good
talk
night.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, Marty and Henry. Thank you. All right, so, motion to pay some bills. Do we have bills?
We do have bills.
Motion to
Listen,
pay them?
I need a vote I can't get paid. They won't pay me. So I need you guys to vote for that, please.
And I can't sign that bill either.
No, I just need a voted by the commission and then.
Well, somebody vote something.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'm
Second,
usually in bed by now.
Second?
Second.
No?
Virginia and Charlene.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other bills?
Yeah, that, Beta and Henry.
Okay, motion to pay our consultants
So moved. Second.
whatever they want for their ridiculously good job. Motion, second.
Yeah, we
all in
got both.
favor?
Yep.
Bills paid, I'll sign them.
All right, sounds good.
Anybody else
Yeah,
have
that's
anything?
motion.
Besides Mary, I see you smiling. Don't do it to me.
Don't.
Don't do it. Bedtime.
Doug,
I know.
all right.
Who's calling me?
Lorraine and Charlene.
Question.
Yes.
The last time we had a meeting, we had asked you about the corner of Commerce Road and Hingham Street and who
Oh,
removed
shit.
all the trees.
Was I supposed to do something?
Look at it. If
What do you
there's a
mean, look at
pond there now.
Well, that's what happens when you clear trees. You create ponds.
Oh, they did.
But we already permitted that site there.
Not for the corner of Commerce Road and Hingham Street.
No way. That was wetlands, for heaven's sakes.
Corner. Oh, on the other side of the street.
Yeah,
So not on the Bella's side.
no,
No.
other side.
Oh. Wasn't that supposed to be a hotel?
No, you're thinking about the extended stay, which was further down, closer to my house.
Across the street from the restaurant.
Oh, really?
This is on the corner as you make the turn to go to the BMW place, right? That back entrance to the BMW.
Why didn't anybody tell me that? Is that the Hyundai dealership?
At the light to go up Commerce Road.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it was where we had the guy from A.W. Perry come in and clean that place out because of all the mess,
The
remember?
tires and the tanks and the.
Yeah, I remember you telling us that.
Well, they did the clean out, but then sometime in recent memory, all of a sudden the trees were gone.
They told the head guy for A.W. Perry to go in the Wellens and pull out the tires.
And he did
Like
it.
he's gonna do that, but actually, I think he did, but anyway.
You did, you better believe it.
All right, so I'll go up there and I'll take a look in the morning. I don't go up there that often, so actually, I don't leave the house that often, so I'll go and check.
You can't miss it.
Well, I will check and find out what's going on. I'll use my powers of persuasion to find out.
Late now.
Yeah, put that tree back.
Yeah, it's getting late. All right, anything else?
Done.
Motion to adjourn.
Yay, yes.
All right, everybody have a good night. We'll see you on the 13th.